Number 1.
Okay, so this happened 10 years ago, when I was about 6. I'm 16 now, and I'm a female. My mum was out shopping with me. She had to get something really quick, and I wasn't hot, so she locked the car, cracked the windows, and left me with our German Shepherd/Australian cattle dog mix named Bear. Bear was the sweetest dog ever. My ride until I was 2, and my protective cuddly pillow until I was 12. She was asleep in my lap when she suddenly sat straight up. That's when I realized that a man was near the car. The window was cracked enough that he could reach in. He put his hand in, trying to grab the lock and unlock my door. I guess I was at an angle where he could see me. Our windows were tinted, but the front windows you could see out of. He probably didn't see Bear until it was too late. Anyways, he put his hand in, and Bear, our sweet, loving dog, just bit him directly on the hand hard enough. I think she broke a few fingers. He took his hand out and ran off. Bear then sat on me protectively and refused to budge until Mum got back. My mum flipped when I told her, hugged me, kissed me, and hurried back home, stopping by Jack in the Box to get Bear some well-deserved hamburger patties. Bear passed away on Christmas Day 2012. She was the greatest dog ever and probably saved my life. This is a picture of her.
Number 2.
So, let me preface this story by saying that I don't live in the best neighborhood. My roommate and I ended up reluctantly moving here because it was the place we could find equidistance from both of our jobs. So, anyway, it's about 2 AM on a Saturday, and I'm up late as, of course, I don't have work the next day. My 5-month-old Dutch Shepherd, Maddie, is out for her kennel and running around later than usual as I'm up and watching her. I decide to walk her once more before going to sleep. Now, walking out of my front door, I have a small front yard. Outside of that is the street, and past the street is a sizable field where I usually walk her. Per usual, I head straight for that field. I walk her for about 10 minutes and allow her to do her business. It's the dead of night, and there's no one outside. No noises, nothing. I begin walking back towards the street to go inside. When I was about halfway through the street, I looked down the street to my right to check on one of my cars. I don't drive it often as it's my backup, so I occasionally check it to make sure it looks alright. I notice the driver's rear window is half lowered. That's weird, I think to myself. I haven't driven it in 2 months, and I don't recall leaving that down. Surely I would have noticed it sooner, I continued to think. I stare at the car, checking for visible damage, doors open, etc., while also trying to remember the last time I drove it. It was at this point Maddie started barking uncontrollably. To give you some perspective on the dynamics of the situation, imagine a clock. My body is facing 12, which is the direction of my front door. My head's facing 4, up the street and to the right where my car is. The field is at 6, and Matt is barking and pulling towards 11, almost in the opposite direction that I'm facing. I don't look at her as she starts barking, as I can feel that she's tugging towards the direction of my front door, and she likely wants to go inside as it's kind of chilly out here. After staring at my car for literally 5 seconds, and not noticing any damage, I decide to take her inside, kennel her, and come back to investigate. I turn my head back to 12 to head towards the house. That's when I see him. There is a man standing about 3 feet away from me, which isn't very far for a stranger to stand next to you. Maddie is buckled down and growling. I look at the man in the face and notice that he's not looking at me, he's looking at my dog. I hold her leash in such a way that she is just short of being able to attack him. Next, I noticed his hand. His left hand is resting casually to the side, but his right hand is hidden, almost as though he's holding something behind his back, possibly in his back pocket. He's got a knife, or worse, a gun, I thought to myself. After about 10 seconds of standing there silently with him, staring at my dog, I say, "What's up?" Not in a "hey buddy" kind of way, but in the literally "what do you want" kind of way. No response. He doesn't break concentration on my puppy still. I see him shift his right hand around behind his back. My heart starts beating harder. I realize it's do or die time, and I begin contemplating how I'd react if he attacked me. After a brief moment, his right hand comes to his side in a relaxed, casual way as his left hand is. He's between me and my door, but I know I have to get away from him. I turn and walk towards my car to investigate the window. Shortly after, the man begins walking up the sidewalk and away, and that was it. Shortly after he leaves, the entire situation begins to dawn on me. I never heard or see him, even though I was looking in his direction for the 2 minutes that it took me to walk from the field towards my house. I only looked away to look at my car. I didn't hear him approach at all in the dead of night. He must have snuck up purposely. We met in the middle of the street, meaning he wasn't casually walking down the middle of the street. Again, lending credibility to the idea that he had snuck up behind me. He never spoke to me, he never responded to my question, and he never met eyes with me. The whole time, he just stared at my dog. I realized what he was doing. He was sizing her up to see if he could take her or me before the other one interfered. After 20 seconds or so of thought, I guess he decided not to. I did not know this man. He did not inquire about my dog, he didn't ask me anything, and this to me means he had ill intentions. I'm 22, and for the 22 years that led up to 4 months ago, when I got Maddie, I was a cat guy. It has taken only 4 months for this puppy to change my mind of that. I now know why they're called man's best friend.
Number 3.
Here is some background info before I start the story. 6 months ago, I had gotten my first apartment. My mum and sister helped me move, and the first week by myself was great. I was enjoying my freedom and independence and becoming a real adult that can support herself. After I had gotten used to the place, I was starting to feel a bit lonely. Coming home after school and work every night to an empty and quiet home was something I was not quite used to. Luckily for me, my neighbours had a cat. He was, and still is, a sweet and loving tabby cat that loved attention. The neighbours weren't very good pet owners though. They neglected the poor thing and hardly fed him. He was literally skin and bones. So, whenever the cat would come over to my place, I would feed him whatever I had in the fridge. A few weeks passed since I moved in, and the neighbours decided to move. It took 3 days in total for them to pack their stuff and leave. I noticed a couple days after they left that their cat was still there, wandering around outside in the rain, looking pathetic. I kept him with me for a couple of days, hoping that they would come back for him. They didn't. Once I knew for sure that they wouldn't come back, I checked with my landlord to see if I could keep him. After signing some papers and paying a pet deposit, the cat was mine. I decided to name him Crybaby because he was very vocal about everything, especially food. Crybaby had adjusted really well with his new life. He was gaining weight fast and was even more affectionate with me. With him around, I didn't feel lonely in my home anymore. Skip forward to 2 months. I was in my room, sleeping. Crybaby woke me up, meowing loudly in the living room. Still half asleep, I looked over to my alarm clock to see it was 4 a.m. What the heck? He never did this before, at least not this early in the morning. Was he hungry? Once I got out of bed and walked to the living room, I became more alert. I didn't just hear my cat, I also heard something else that made my stomach churn. Someone was jimmying my locked front door as my cat watched. For the longest time, I couldn't move. I stood there in my living room, paralyzed with fear. My thoughts raced and my heartbeat was loud in my ears. Sooner or later, if this person was lucky, they would break into my apartment and do God knows what to me and or steal everything of value. I had to do something, anything to get this person to leave. It took about a minute for me to collect my courage. I was about to do something reckless and possibly stupid. I shakingly walked up to the door and moved my hand to the light switch next to it and turned on the outside light. This seemed to do the trick. Once the person knew I was home, he proceeded to yell,
"Son of a bitch, fuck."
After that outburst, he kicked the door a couple of times. It scared me even more, and I jumped back and fell on my ass. Then he stopped, and everything went silent. Again, I became paralyzed with fear. What was he doing? Is he still here, or did he leave? Oh my God, what if he comes back? I sat there for 10 minutes, straining my ears for any other suspicious sounds. I was relieved when I didn't hear anything else. Once I was in the right state of mind, and not as panicked as I was earlier, I called the cops. I then found out I wasn't the only person who had their apartment almost broken into. 4 other tenants that lived in the same complex that I did had experienced what I had went through as well. Sadly, the cops never caught the guy, so he's still out there somewhere, and I hope to God that I never meet him again. The one thing I'm thankful for is that Crybaby is such a vocal cat, and that he was able to wake me up that night. Whether that guy was able to break in or not, I really do think that my cat did save me that night. And I think that I will always triple check to see if my doors are locked at night before I go to bed for the rest of my life.
Number 4.
The summer that I turned 7, I had a best friend, M, who lived in the middle of nowhere on a big plot of land. Her mother grew up in Germany but moved to the US in her 20s. She bred German Shepherds, and I spent a lot of time at their house as a child. Occasionally, M's mum would leave us alone at the house while she ran errands, with their 3 adult dogs running around outside, guarding the fenced-in yard. We would usually just watch TV or play with Barbies until she got back. One day, we were outside, playing in the yard, when a car drove very slowly past us. It sped up after passing the house. A little while later, M's mum had to go to town to return some library books or something, and she was taking M's little sister but leaving us at home. I'm not sure how long we were alone before the phone rang, but I answered even though it wasn't my house because M was painfully shy as a child and refused to talk to anyone but close friends and relatives on the phone. An unfamiliar man answered, and he said,
"Hello, I'm the electrician your mum hired. I have to come inside. Can you call off your dogs? Chain them up?"
I panicked a little because something about this man made me uneasy, and M's mum hadn't said anything to us about someone coming to work on the house. Plus, this was before the days of cell phones. How did he know about the dogs? I guess he could have had a car phone, but there were no vehicles parked outside the gate, and the dogs weren't even barking. When M's mum returned, she confirmed that she had not hired anyone to come out to the property. None of us had any idea who he was or how he got the phone number, but he never called back.
Number 5.
I live downtown in a college town. The area I live isn't exactly perfect, but it's right across from a junior high school, so I thought my neighborhood was safe enough. After my experience 2 nights ago, I don't think so. I work late, till 3 or 4 in the morning, but this night I hadn't. Around an hour before I would be getting home from work, around 2:30 AM, one of my cats starts going ballistic. This woke me up. I have 2 cats. One of them has cerebellar hyperplasia and is disabled and can't walk well. The other cat was the one bouncing by the door. She was shrieking. At first, I didn't go near the front door. I wasn't expecting anyone, but then, when my disabled cat started joining in on the kitty chorus and went to the door, I knew something wasn't right. Then, I hear a light tapping. Not quite a knock, but loud enough that if someone was home, they would notice. A few moments later, I hear someone jiggling the doorknob and putting something in my lock. I immediately ran to the bathroom and turned on the lights. As soon as I did so, our car horn starts blaring. The person who was at the door, presumably picking my lock, ran into the car. I was able to get a slight look at it, but not enough to do any good. If my cat hadn't freaked out, I wouldn't have known my apartment was getting broken into. She gets lots of cuddles and treats now.
Number 6.
This all happened last year. Let me start off by telling you about my cat. We got him because someone dropped him off at our farm, and he's the sweetest little kitten I've ever met. He's really cuddly and has a bit of a hearing problem because of a blood clot in his ears, but don't worry, he's okay. He's a very smart cat, and he's actually kind of protective. His name is Ozzy. The town I live in is pretty small, and we don't have a lot of crime here. So my parents don't really make sure to lock the doors at night or any of that. That's probably why this guy thought to try and rob us. I woke up on that night because of my cat. He was standing right on my chest, meowing very loudly. I thought this was extremely weird because he never meows. Not for food, not to get out, never. I automatically assumed he was sick because he does occasionally meow when he's gonna throw up, so I started to take him downstairs so I could take him outside and let him get it out of his system. That's when I noticed the truck. There was a rusty blue pickup truck outside in our driveway. The lights were off. I found that odd too, because if it was one of my parents' friends, they would be on and they would probably be honking. I didn't recognize the truck either. I was starting to get the feeling something was extremely wrong. I could hear the back door open. I knew it wasn't my parents because my mum never wakes up until at least 7, and this was around 2:30 in the morning. My dad was hunting somewhere in Pennsylvania, and my little brother was asleep. My cat had stopped meowing now, and was slowly walking over to the stairs. I could tell he was trying to be quiet, and somewhere in my tired brain I had started to figure out someone was in my house. I was starting to panic, but I didn't want to call 911 in case it actually was my mum letting out the dogs or something, even though it didn't sound like it. It was too quiet to be that, and I didn't hear the dogs fighting, so I decided to follow Ozzy to the stairs. Ozzy stopped as soon as he got to the top of the stairs. He was looking down and had stopped meowing. I decided to slowly go down the stairs just to see if it was a misunderstanding. I remember I just went down the first couple of steps when I saw the man. He was standing in our living room with his back to me, wearing all black, holding something in his hand as he slowly crept towards the stairs. I shot backwards and grabbed the cat. I knew he heard me then because he started to move a lot faster. He was at the bottom of the steps now, and I could see he was holding a knife. I was terrified, crying at this point, trying not to make a noise because I didn't want to wake the dogs or my mum and get them stabbed. I ran into my room, cat in my hands, and slammed the door, making sure I locked it. I was praying the man didn't open the door to my brother's room, which was right before mine, and was too focused on me instead. I grabbed my phone and called my dad, whispering tearfully that there was someone in the house and how I loved him and to call the police. He was panicking now too, knowing a man with a knife was in his house with his wife and kids and he couldn't do anything. I told him to call the police again, and right as I hung up, I heard the man open the door to my brother's room. I screamed louder than I ever have in my life. I grabbed hold of some little glass bird, flung open the door and threw it right at the man. It hit him square on the face, I saw his eyes widen with anger and I screamed again and slammed the door. I could hear my mum wake up downstairs and ask what was wrong, and I could hear the man run down the stairs through the living room out the door and to his truck. I could hear him leave, and I could hear my brother screaming and my mum running up the stairs, and then I fainted. The next morning, when we went to town to file a police report, we saw that the man had robbed an old woman. I knew it was him because it described his truck perfectly. It said he stabbed her, took all her jewelry, money, anything he could find, and fled. She survived, but they still haven't found him. I hope that bastard rots in jail. I don't know why that man ran away. He could have easily killed me and my family and took everything we owned. Maybe he couldn't see well because of glass in his eye, or maybe he thought other people had better stuff than us, or maybe he just felt wrong killing a 14-year-old child. I don't know. Whatever the reason, I'm thankful for it. I owe my life to my cat though. It feels weird saying that, but it's true. If he hadn't woken up that night, my whole family could have died. The day after, as we were all still recovering, I remember we went to the grocery store and bought him 2 whole bags of treats. He deserved it. I always lock the door before I go to bed now. I never really thought that kind of thing would ever happen to me, but I don't want to take any more chances. Better safe than sorry.
Number 7.
This happened to my mum, and I get chills every time she tells me the story because it was such a close call. My mum was in her early 20s, so this would have taken place in the late 70s. She lived alone in a rather crappy apartment not too far from Atlanta, and was more or less a party girl who dated a lot of guys she met at the clubs. She met a guy when she was out partying at a bar one night, and I guess they hit it off, because they exchanged numbers and decided to go out together again sometime. This is how she described it. I had seen him around the bars quite a bit and was smitten because he was a movie star good looking, tall, dark hair, fit, nice skin as I recall. He asked me out for that Friday and got my contact info, but I don't think we really talked much that night. At this point, I should mention her cat, Tommy. He was a slim, solid black stray she had taken in and apparently was the best cat ever because he loved my mum tremendously. He'd wrap himself around her shoulders and go with her on car rides, and hang out with her all the time, basically do a whole lot of really cool cat stuff like that. He was also very jealous and protective of my mother, so whenever the phone rang, he'd throw himself on top of it so she couldn't take her attention away from him. He'd jump onto her newspapers when she was reading it because it too distracted my mum from paying attention to him. Anyway, date night rolls around and my mum is really excited for her guy to show up, because he was allegedly really hot. However, when he got there, Tommy went nuts. This cat was usually really friendly and affectionate, but he lost it when the guy came inside. For the short while that the guy was at my mum's apartment, Tommy glared at him, growling menacingly with huge, dilated pupils and all his hair standing on end. Of course, my mum was humiliated because Tom was making her date nervous and more or less cock-blocking them. She sat there petting Tommy, hoping he'd calm down. The date night conversation was going nowhere and the guy started to act more and more tense and uncomfortable. My mum wasn't sure if he was weirded out by the cat or if the two of them were just not making a great connection. Either way, her date was being very quiet and awkward, but he didn't seem to want to leave either. It is also important for me to mention that my mum's date neatly dodged any questions about where the two of them would be going out to that night. In her words, he was non-conversational and appeared almost annoyed by me, like he didn't want to be there. I remember feeling very self-conscious and awkward, like maybe he decided in the better lighting that I didn't look so good. It got awkward just sitting there, waiting for him to tell me what he had planned for our date and not even talking. Then, out of nowhere, Tommy launched himself at the guy's face and just started going to town on him, screaming and tearing at his flesh like he was out for blood. My mum quickly ripped Tommy off of the guy and scolded him, apologizing profusely. All of a sudden, the guy made up some painfully obvious lie about how he suddenly needed to leave and seemed inappropriately angry at my mum. They never ended up going out or even talking again. A few days later at work, my mum was telling a co-worker about her date, leaving out the part where Tommy mauled the guy's face. She more or less wanted to brag about how good-looking the guy was and happened to mention his name. The co-worker went absolutely chalk-white and explained to my mum that 2 or 3 women had recently come forth and pressed charges against that same guy for date raping them. Apparently, he had met them at some local clubs and committed the act when he took them out on individual dates. I guess he left my mum alone because Tommy had made such a huge scene, and I guess Tommy had sensed the guy's intentions and wanted to protect my mum at all costs. Either way, he sounds like an amazing cat, and may have well saved my mum's life.
Hey guys, it's the Grim Reader here. I hope you enjoyed listening through that. If you did, please slap a like, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe to be notified of future uploads? If you have a story you want me to narrate, please send it to my email in the description box. Once again, thanks a lot for listening.